Hey everyone, my name is Paul Inverum Toddkill. I am a professional commentator and host in the world of esports. When I'm not in front of the camera, I work behind the scenes producing and managing esports broadcasts. Now, a question that I see all the time, and I've been asked this a few times in the industry, is if you're an up and coming talent, if you are a commentator in the world of esports, how much should I charge? Now, I'm going to be honest, that is a bit of a taboo question. It's not really something that's discussed too much in the industry. Talent don't often like to talk about how much they're getting paid, but there have been a lot of endeavors of late to try and create more transparency when it comes to the world of esports. And I'm trying to do that here because part of my job is booking talent. Not only do I actively do that as part of my day-to-day job, but I also have rate cards from some of the largest talent agencies in the industry. So I have a pretty good sense of where these numbers are. So keep in mind, these are based on a few different factors. A lot of things go into how much you can charge for a rate. So let's look at them. First and foremost is your professional experience. This is pretty simple. It's how much time have you spent casting? How many different games have you casted? How many different tournaments have you been involved with? Are you experienced in running a production? These are the kind of things that we look at sort of first and foremost when it comes to judging where a talent falls. Have you only done remote at home broadcasts, or have you done work in a studio? Have you done work on stage? Have you done massive stadium events? These are all going to factor in. Secondly, one of the big things here is, who are you working for? Is this a small little organization? It's just a couple of friends? Do they not really have any money? Is everybody doing this for free? Is there really a prize pool? Or is it, a next step up? Maybe it's a bigger org. Maybe they have a couple sponsors involved. Or is it a big tournament organizer? Is a TO involved? Is it a publisher or developer? These are going to pretty dramatically change how much budget is available to hire talent. And again, you can want to charge X amount of dollars, but sometimes we don't just only have so much money that we can pay. Now, lastly, these are what I call intangibles. And what it really breaks down to is how many fans, how many viewers can you drive to come watch a tournament? Now, for a lot of us involved in the community, there's people who stream on Twitch and they make additional content. They're super involved in social media. These are the things that we really do look for. If you've got that additional following, if you're a staple in the community, probably more likely to hire you because you are going to be able to bring out more fans to watch the show. Let's talk about money. Before we do, I have a few disclaimers. So let's talk about how you're going to charge. How do you apply your rate? First and foremost, we do rates generally as a day rate. This is based on an 8 to 10 hour workday. Sometimes it can be dramatically less, and unfortunately in some situations it can be a little bit more. When we talk about esports talent, we usually talk about it in terms of a day rate. In terms of rehearsal and travel, you usually tend to charge half of your day rate. So say your day rate's $1,000 for rehearsal and travel days, you would charge $500 a piece. And on top of that, for any day that you are traveling, say you're traveling in from New York to LA, for every day that you're traveling, including the days you're working in the studios, you will also get an additional per diem. Per diem is basically a stipend that you can apply to things like food and ride share, taking you from the hotel to the venue and the venue to the airport, that kind of stuff. This usually sits between about $50 to $75 a day. Also note that sometimes, especially if you get a little bit more experienced in the industry, you're gonna have to just take less money for gigs if you just want to do them. Say it's a new game that you really want to get involved with, or some awesome talent that you really want to cast with. It's gonna get viewed by a lot of people. You think it could be good for your career. Sometimes you're just gonna have to take less money to do that, and that's okay. Sometimes it's right to do that. You just have to balance that. You just have to weigh that. Also keep in mind that some companies are just going to pay more for talent than others, especially if you're an up and coming aspiring talent and you're working with some veterans. They may bump your rate up to match with that, but just because you've been paid something once, unfortunately doesn't always mean that's what you're worth forever. You constantly have to be evaluating where your rate is. And just because you get, wow, I got paid a lot for this event, doesn't always mean that other tournament organizers or publishers or whatever are going to think that that is what you should be paid. So just keep that in mind. And of course, the idea of living local is very much a thing in esports because, fortunately, most esports is just produced in LA. It's part of the entertainment industry. Most of the studios are here. A bunch more are cropping up across the United States, which is great. But realistically, if you do live in LA, it will dramatically increase your chances of getting hired because a lot of tournament organizers just don't have a lot of additional funds to pay for the travel and the accommodation to bring you out to these events. As much as we might want to, we just don't have the budget. So keep that in mind. And I am not suggesting that you drop everything, go move to LA, chase the esports dream. I'm really not recommending that because it doesn't work for a lot of people. But now is actually the best time to get involved because everybody's indoors, because we can't really travel right now. There's so many great remote casting opportunities involved that if you want to try your hand at casting, this is one of the best times to do so. So how much should you charge? I'm going to break this down into 6 different tiers and give you some ranges that you can generally find when it comes to money. First and foremost, of course, is just amateur. This is where we all start. I think I probably casted 100 amateur tournaments before I ever made a dime, before anybody ever really noticed me. This is where you cut your teeth. This is where you develop your skills. Not only are you going to be casting probably just like weekly cups and little tournaments, maybe 20 to 30 teams, probably also getting some experience in terms of esports production, actually probably broadcasting these from home yourself. If you want to learn more about that, I have another video. You can check out the link in the description. And this is free. You're just doing this for free. You're just doing this for the experience. You're doing this to get your chops. But the next level is open. Okay, what's open? It's probably a tournament that has, you know, a couple sponsors attached. Maybe it's got $1,000 prize, but it's got a $5,000 prize pool. This is sort of that next step up where there is money involved. And, you know, if you're going to be talent on that, you should get a part of it. Now, for these open tournaments, we usually look to charge between about $250 to $500. This again is for a day rate, 8 to 10 hours ish for this. Again, sometimes for these open tournaments, it can be a little bit longer, but if you're starting out, $250 to $500. From here, we have semi-pro talent. Now, these are talent who, again, have cut their teeth. They've got a lot of experience in the community. They've done a few of these open gigs, but maybe this is their first time getting flown out to a studio. Maybe they're doing that next level up. Maybe a bigger tournament organizer or a publisher is getting involved, but they're still, again, fairly inexperienced when it comes to that level of production. They can probably look to charge between about $600 to $800 a day. From there, we have what I'm going to call pro talent. Now, these are talent who have done a fair amount of these professional gigs, but they're not really at the point where they can say, this is what I do for a living, as much as, you know, some of them might want to. They still probably have a day job associated with this, so they do additional work on the side. They can generally look to charge between about $800 to $1,000. From there, we have what I'm going to call working pros. And these are the folks that you see almost every day if you're turning on Twitch and watching esports broadcasts. These are the folks who are actually making a living casting esports. Not a ton of them, but they do exist. Most of them are with an agency. They usually have an agent who represents them, and they work on the leagues that you watch, you know, the big leagues in the world of esports in games like Counter-Strike or Dota or Rainbow Six, Rocket League, all those kinds of things. And they generally tend to make between about $1,000 to $1,250 a day. Though again, this can vary if you're signing like a big deal for like an entire season of a league or something like that. It can change pretty dramatically. But if you're just sort of a working pro and this is your job, you're generally looking to make at base about $1,000 a day. This has sort of become the new industry benchmark, and this has come a long way in the last few years. This is much higher than it used to be. From here, we have what I'm calling the veterans of the industry. These are the OGs. These are the folks who've been around since the beginning. And this is where the scale kind of stops mattering because they can really just charge whatever companies can afford. This could be anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 a day. And a lot of this comes down to just the breadth of experience that they bring to a broadcast, as well as the following that they bring, especially if they are big content creators on the side. That number can absolutely balloon. But in a lot of situations, you know, it's worth it because you're getting, you know, the top tier talent in any of their respective games. But again, a lot of them will often take lower rates than that just to do games they want to cast, or, you know, do tournaments or work with friends that they want to work with. You know, we're going to see a lot of variation here. But again, this doesn't apply to most people. I'm just kind of giving you a benchmark of what the top earners in esports are actually making on a day-to-day. But I would say in general that most working esports pros charge somewhere in the realm of $800 to $1,250 a day for talent for shows. And this can be remote now, most likely in studio. Again, going back to the future. These are general numbers. Hopefully this is a place for you to start. Again, those things that I talked about at the beginning of the video, use those in conjunction to figure out roughly what you should be getting paid based on your experience. And again, these are constantly going to be shifting. And as you cast, as you get better, as you get more involved in the industry, you are going to need to be reevaluating that and figuring out exactly how much you are worth, because you should be charging what you are worth as talent. Don't let folks take advantage of you. And that's what this video is really all about, to hopefully shed some light on this. But of course, if you guys want to keep up to date with more of this kind of content, because I'm looking to make more of this kind of content, be sure to do the YouTube thing, hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I am going to be trying to do more content where I pull back the curtain in the world of esports, as it were, sort of take you guys behind the scenes to learn a little bit more about it. And if you want to stay up to date with everything I'm doing, what shows that I'm casting, what work I'm getting involved with, be sure to go follow me over on Twitter. That is where I am the most active. But folks, it is a crazy world out there. I hope you all stay safe, and I will see you for the next one.